So I'm going to start by putting a positive spin on this, if you can even come away with anything positive about this game or this season as a whole, and then I'll likely rant a bit because I'm sure you all are just as frustrated as I am after watching yet another miserable performance by the Chicago Bulls. But the good thing is, it was an awful game, but it doesn't mean much of anything aside from reconfirming this team doesn't have it in them to make any meaningful noise. I mean, going into tonight, the Bulls were more or less locked into that 10 seed. 2 games back behind the Raptors and the Hawks. The only way for the Bulls to pass either of them is to either win out their 3 remaining games and have the Raptors and the Hawks lose their final 3 games. The Hawks won tonight, the Raptors lost, but since they own the tiebreak over the Bulls are firmly planted at the 10 seed. So yes, a frustrating loss, very poor effort, which I'll get into, but the Bulls were getting the 10 seed regardless, even if they won the game tonight. Second, because the Bulls are locked into the 10 seed, winning or losing in these final 2 games won't impact their seeding, but what it will impact is the draft lottery potential if they aren't able to make it into the playoffs. And the reason the loss like this could be positive, although a very small positive, is that it actually improves the Bulls' chances of keeping their pick, meaning their pick would land in the top 4 because the Bulls are actually now tied with the Mavericks and the Thunder after tonight, which means rather than having a less than 7% chance of landing in the top 4, now the Bulls have a 10% chance of landing in the top 4, which would actually go higher if they were to lose their next 2 games, one of which is against the team that they're directly competing against in the Dallas Mavericks in the Tankathon, although I'm sure the Mavs are going to do everything in their power to make the play-in and save from being an absolute disaster after trading for Kyrie Irving. If the Bulls somehow manage to finish the season with a worse record than the Mavs and the Thunder, that would actually improve their chances to 13% of landing in the top 4. Still a very small chance of the Bulls actually keeping their pick. You're talking between 90% to 87% chance that pick is going to go to the Orlando Magic anyway, but better than 7%. It's the little things, guys. The small wins you have to find in an otherwise disaster and frustrating season. Problem is, we all know this front office is going to try to do what they can to win these last 2 games to save face and not give the Magic a higher lottery pick than they have to. And the last game of the season is against the Pistons, who have lost 11 in a row and have only won 16 games all season. So there's that. But anyway, this game, I don't even know what to say. I think we have to treat every game like it's a game 7 just went out the window in that abysmal outing against the Hawks. And look, I get it. It's the Bucks. You're talking about one of the best teams in the league, actually the best team in the league by record, and they actually clinched the best record in the NBA after the win tonight over the Bulls. And I know it's coming off a back-to-back, but when the Bucks are without Giannis, which 100% was a late-minute scratch to say, hey, this game isn't that important, we've already locked up our seeding, let's rest Giannis, especially after we played last night. The Bucks were basically without Chris Middleton, who only played 8 minutes and left the game early due to injury, no Grayson Allen, no Pat Connaughton, who are their sharpshooters, and the Bulls come out the way they did. Yet another slow and lethargic start, no energy, poor shooting. Don't get me wrong, the Bucks are a good team even when they are shorthanded. They're just a well-coached, well-oiled machine even without Giannis, but if you're the Bulls, and at least to the start of the game, you had the ability to try and make up some ground in the standings, and you come out with that kind of effort, and this is the second game now. The Hawks were without Trae Young, Bucks without Giannis, and I can't help but think you got to look at coaching and not being able to adjust the game plan when there was a late-minute scratch in the opposing team's star player. I mean, we've seen this on quite a few occasions this season, when the Bulls are going up against a shorthanded team and they wet the bed. That being said, you can't really fault Billy Donovan for when it comes to the guys coming out with no heart and being weak mentally. It's almost like the Bulls players got it in their heads, or that there's more pressure to win when they're going up against a shorthanded team. But I guess with no Giannis and Bobby Portis getting the start, who we all know loves to torch the Bulls, 27 points, 13 rebounds, 6 for 9 from 3. Like, are you kidding me? Also interesting to see Zach and Bobby get into it again. That happened last season as well, which, by the way, I don't know how Portis wasn't called for a flagrant or at least a technical foul on that hard foul on Zach Lavine. Like, he clearly wasn't making a play on the ball. I know Zach followed through and gave him a little shove after the fact, but that was warranted with the way Bobby went at him. Anyway, of course, Bobby goes off, even though I still don't understand the animosity Portis has towards the Bulls, considering the Bulls made him an offer for an extension to his rookie deal, which he declined. So the Bulls were kind of forced into trading him because he wanted more money than they could afford. But yeah, anyway, as for this game, I mean, the Bulls shot the ball poorly. The Bucks did too, actually, but they also had 9 more shot attempts than the Bulls because they outworked the Bulls on the boards. Too many second chance opportunities, with the Bucks getting 13 offensive rebounds, out-rebounding the Bulls 53-38 overall. Again, this is without Giannis, one of their better rebounders. Bulls were 11 for 33 from 3, not good enough, and the Bulls just couldn't hit a bucket to save their life in the final minutes of the fourth quarter, even on good looks. The shots just weren't going down. And you look at Lavine and DeRozan, dudes just look gassed, uninterested, not engaged. DeRozan didn't hit a field goal until the third quarter, 3 for 12 overall, only 8.6 assists, yikes. And then Zach Lavine, who had this insanely efficient run post-All-Star break, was putting up numbers along some of the best players in the league after the All-Star break. The last 2 games, not good. Tonight, Zach, 5 for 17 shooting, 1 for 8 from 3, which makes 2 of his last 15 shots from 3 when adding the game against the Hawks. 13 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, so he was doing other things, which was good to see, but you need your scores to come up big in these games. And both him and DeMar laid an egg in this one. Vooch, though, another decent game, although he was bricking shots as well in the fourth. M was pretty MIA in the second half after putting up 18 points in the first half. Finished the game with 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 4 assists, 9 for 21 shooting, but 1 for 6 from 3. Coby White had a bit of a better game, gave the Bulls scoring off the bench, 14 points, 6 for 10 shooting, 2 for 4 from 3. Finally passed Michael Jordan on the all-time three-pointers list in Bulls franchise history. He also had 6 rebounds, but 4 turnovers. Bulls had 15 turnovers overall. Not ideal, especially with how well they've been taking care of the ball recently when they just set a franchise-tying record for least amount of turnovers in a game. Outside of that, nothing really great to take away from this one. Bulls just didn't seem to care, didn't seem to want it against a shorthanded team that was almost willing to take a loss to rest their star player. Whatever. I just can't wait for this season to be over. Been one of the most frustrating seasons in recent memory. 2 more games. We've got at least 1 more, actually, with the play-in. Likely going up against the Raptors in Toronto, which is not going to be easy. One, as the Bulls do not match up well against the Raptors. But anyway, until then, guys, as always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.